Okay, so we are going to start in on the head for your Mrs. Butterworth. So I've got some clay here. You can see it's about enough that it'll fit in the palm of my hand. Um, and I'm just going to make an animal. And I know that some of you are probably like thinking, how's he going to do that? How am I going to make mine look like his? But it's a pretty simple idea. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to kind of insert it in there and start forming that clay around my thumb. And I'm actually going to kind of squeeze it at the bottom so that it starts to get this sort of mushroom kind of shape. And that way it is thin enough that it's going to survive the firing process, but also that seems to be a good size to transition into the body of the Mrs. Butterworth um, bottle. So I've got a little extra clay, and we're just going to make like a dog or a cat or something like that today. So I've got another little ball of clay here, and I'm going to divide that into two pieces. And those two pieces I'm going to put on the front of the ball that I just made. I'm going to start smushing it in on the top half and leave it on the bottom half. So I'm starting to get that kind of a form. So from the side, it's like that, and from the front, it's like that. Then a smaller ball rolling up, I'm going to put in the middle, and I'm going to sort of smush that in. And that's going to form the nose on there. And the other little ball I'm going to put underneath, and that's going to form the chin. There, you can kind of see. There it is from the side. So now I've brought just a couple little tools for myself. I've got like a popsicle stick, but if you have like a little loop tool, you can use that as home as well. I'm going to make a couple of eyeballs, medium size, balls of clay like raisins or olives, you decide. One here, one here. For eyes on this guy, gonna smush those in. And you could even take like a pencil to do this. But I'm just gonna go in, I'm gonna twirl this on either side. And I could soften that up with some water or just pressure. But I've got myself a little guy starting, but he looks a little bit shocked to me. So I'm going to take a coil, actually make one long coil. I'm going to flatten it out. Going to take half of it and cover one eye. And the other half, and cover the other eye. And I like him so far. He's kind of a funny little guy, right? I don't know, maybe I'd do the eyes differently another time, but we'll finish this one up with just a couple of ears, two more balls of clay, flatten them out. Let's cut them into a triangle shape. And we'll attach those. Now he's got some ears. There you have it. There's my new head for Mrs. Butterworth. Gonna let this guy dry out. I could hollow him out a little bit more if I'm worried about how thick he's gotten in any area, but I think that would be a playful, different sort of fun head. Hey, okay, so day 2 on the Mrs. Butterwho project. So went to the store, bought a Mrs. Butterworth bottle. There are a couple of different sizes, and I poured it out. And I hate to do that. You could pour it into a pitcher or something like that. But for the sake of getting this project done, I poured it out. But I'm ready for the next step. Here's my head that I created. Doesn't he look awesome, right? So he's going to switch for that head. So this is the first step, and it's kind of the gruesome one. I've just got like a little coping saw here. I'm cutting the head off from one direction and then the other direction. And once you get through that first section, you can kind of rock it or use some scissors to kind of finish it off. And maybe I'll go this way too. There we go. Okay. So there it is. She's gone, right? So I happen to have a couple of dowels.
Sophie Chabris, report to the front office, please.
All right, there we go. Couple of different dowels sizes, right? You could go out in the yard and you could find a couple of sticks, and do this as well. So if I put this in here, what I want to check and see is it tall enough? And oh my gosh, that is just about perfect, because now I'll take like some tape or paper mache to finish that off. But if I wanted it to seat itself in there just a little bit more, I could use my same coping saw and take off that last little bit. And then I know when I put in, oh yeah, that's going to be perfect. That's going to fit perfect. She's going to sit just like that. I can glue her on there, what have you. So now we need some weight at the bottom because this is heavier. So I've got plaster. Okay? Plaster, when you work with it, you should always wear a mask. So I'm going to get some mask out, and you can buy plaster at Walmart or Myers or Lowe's or wherever. What I've got is a funnel. I'm going to put like this, and I've got a cup. Yours will probably come in a bag. I'm just going to keep putting in plaster to my funnel. I'm going to take that stick and work it in so that it's going to fill up half of my headless Mrs. Butterworth. So I think I'm going to have just about enough here. Now, whenever you're working with plaster, it's activated by water and the water should be about a 50-50 mixture with the plaster. I think that's going to be plenty. So I'm going to dump the rest in there like that. So if I fill this thing all the way up and try to add water, I'll never be able to get enough water into Mrs. Butterworth for it to accurately mix with the plaster and become as strong as it possibly can. So halfway, or a little less than halfway, and I've got my water, And I don't even need the funnel. I can just pour this thing right in there. And what I want to do is fill it up almost 3/4 of the way. And watch, it's all going to start to like dissolve down into there, which is good. You can actually watch it kind of penetrating the plaster. And even if I didn't do anything else, just left it like this, it would stiffen up. And because it doesn't have to like come out of the plastic ever, it'd be fine, right? But to make it stronger, I'm going to add a little bit more water. To make it a little bit stronger, you want to activate the plaster. So we're just going to go back in with our stick. We're going to stir it up a little bit. And that's plenty of stirring and plenty of water. And now I did forget one thing. I want to have a piece of tape. And I can take some tape and I can kind of tape this in the center. So it's going to sit right there. It's not going to move. This is all going to stiffen up over the course of the next hour, right? But I probably wait for the next day before I put this head on there. And then it's just down to painting it, covering it with some paper or something like that. That'll make it exciting. So I'll probably do one more video where I'm just kind of showing you a few things that you can do. But at this point, I'm just ready to attach this with a little bit of wood glue or expanding foam. Works really great as well. And I am that close to being done with this project. See ya. Okay, hello guys. So you can see Mrs. Butterworth has got her new head on here. What I wanted to show you is that if you look, you can see there's like a little gap right here because when I cut the head off and made this, they didn't match up exactly. And so here's how I deal with that. I'm just going to do a little paper mache. So I've got this Elmer's art paste that we can use. But you can also do the same thing just with your typical old Elmer's white glue. You just mix it up about 50-50 with some water. I'm going to use the paste because it's a little bit more familiar to me right now. And I'm just going to stir that up until I get kind of a thick milkshakey consistency. So nothing fancy here. And I just took some paper towels and I've ripped them already, but you could use any kind of paper. And if you've never paper mache before, you just dip and smear, and then I can start to build right over that gap. So I'm starting to fill it in even with like just one little piece of paper. A couple more, and I will be good to go. Just gotta let it dry. And then I'll be ready to paint or collage the rest. Should have cut this before my fingers got all messy. You can see she's wrapped up less than 60 seconds or so. That was done. Okay, gotta stop. Okay, hello. Hello. We're putting the head on. So you can see my head fits nicely that I made, and the plaster has solidified in there. Notice that it's the second day and that there's a little water that's left over because it absorbed as much as it could.
So I'm going to take off the tape. The plaster will hold the stick in place now. And I'm going to just pour out that extra moisture so it doesn't sit in there after I do this next step. And then to secure the head on here, I'm going to use some expanding foam. So if you've never worked with it before, I took off the top and it comes with this little attachment. The attachment screws down on there so that you can be very direct with where the foam's coming out itself. After you're done using it, you can take off this piece from this piece, and then you can reattach it later, and that way it's easier to clean that out so that you don't use it and then have this whole thing clogged up, because it will have some foam left in there afterwards, and if you let it dry and clean it out afterwards, it's easier to work with. So this couldn't be easier. I'm just going to take this and I'm going to shake this up. I'm going to insert a little foam in there. Oh, shoot, I forgot something. This stuff, when it gets on you, is really hard to get off. So I would use gloves, but I forgot to put them on myself. And notice I put down some paper so that it didn't get all over the place. I'm just going to set that in there the way that I want. And then because the foam is going to continue to expand, like let's say I want her looking slightly to the right or something like that. I'm just going to put a piece of tape over her head in a couple of directions. And that way, when that foam it continues to expand, it's not going to like push her into a funny position. That's all there is for that part. The next thing that we have to do is just paint it and clean up the neck, which will only take a minute for me to show you. So one more video and then we're all done. Hey guys, so my repair on the shoulder is dry. So I'm going to paint. And I'm just using acrylic paint. Got a little brush, wet brush this time. And instead of going with black, since I seem to be doing that, I'm going to go with a brown, like a brown cat. And first thing is I'm just going to get a base coat everywhere. So sit back and enjoy watching me paint this guy. And then after he dries, oh, I tried to pull off as much of that label as I could, but it's sticky. So maybe a little lemon juice or something like that might help you, but I figure what I'll do is I'll come back and I will collage over that to completely finish it up. So, sit back and enjoy while I paint this guy. And we'll see how it turns out.
Great, Helen's looking for you.
Okay.
Or did she find you already?
No, not yet. I'm recording this, so it'll give me a second. That's all right.
Hello. Oh.